Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar of the month. Today, we're going to be talking about how 3D renderings can amplify your design and remodel business. This is a CEU session, so whether you are watching live or on the replay, this is point one CEUs for the NKBA. So make sure to log this in if you are an NKBA member. We are joined here by Michael. He leads all of our 3D design services. How are you today, Michael?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm just going to have you do a little intro into who you are.
Yeah, so I actually came from the construction industry. I worked in residential and commercial construction prior to getting into the 3D rendering business. I saw firsthand, I worked directly with the architects, directly with the engineers, directly with the foreman on site. And if only I had 3D renderings, 90% of the issues that I had out there would have been solved. We had all the BIM models and things like that, but I was really pushing within the company to focus more on, doing the renderings and putting them out in the job site so that people could get a good idea of what things were supposed to look like before they went and made mistakes and rework. So unfortunately, that push didn't really go anywhere. So I decided to leave and start my own thing because I do, and this was all pre-COVID. This was about 2.5, 3 years ago. And now we see just how much it's taking off. So it was just the right place, right time, and I'm really glad I did it. 3D rendering I've seen so many builders who changed the complete design of what they were going to make just because they saw how it looked in 3D. And the actual outcome was just a complete 180 from the initial design. That's when I knew, this is something special. This can help builders. This can help interior designers. This can help you sell early, sell for more, and avoid issues along the way. So that's really where I came in. I have an engineering background, a civil engineer, and all this nerdy stuff just fits right in with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so I'm going to just add in also, if you have not downloaded the workbook, we actually have a workbook that goes along with this. I'll have it in the chat here. And if you're watching live, you'll see the link on the screen. So make sure to download the workbook so you can follow along. And we're going to start with rendering 101. And so briefly, Mike, in your own words, what is rendering to you?
Yeah, so a 3D rendering is basically bringing your vision, to fruition. And one thing that I really want to make clear is that a 3D rendering is not an expense on a project. It is an asset. It is actually a money maker, and it is a time saver. So a 3D rendering is a huge asset. It's not an expense. It's an investment into a project. And it can really change the tides of how things are going. The biggest use case for a 3D rendering, obviously, is seeing the final result, but it goes so much deeper than that. It can allow you to build something. If you're an interior designer, it can allow you to show your vision, even if you don't have that project yet, that you're able to use those high-end furnishings and the high-end materials. So it's really a way for you to show your creativity, show your skill as a designer without having, a huge budget at your disposal. So to me, a 3D rendering is just making visions and conveying visions to others.
Okay. And then next we had talked about what are some typical prices for 3D renderings, because we get this question a lot. What should designers or remodelers plan to pay for typical renderings?
Yeah, so in the workbook, we made a nice little spreadsheet for you. It kind of lists things out by budget, use case, what services you're looking to get. It's really going to depend on your project. If you are, doing a project and it's forced, you have to do some sort of planning for the city. You're going to want to go low end. It's not something you're going to use for marketing. It's not going to be public. it's just serving a purpose. That's where you're going to do your low end stuff. Any do-it-yourself projects, personal projects, that's where I would even recommend checking out some of those DIY rendering services where you're not even outsourcing, you're doing it yourself. But if you are outsourcing, they're basically three different tiers. You got the low end, mid end, the high end. The low end, you're going to get the lower accuracy. It's kind of exactly how if you get a bid on a job, everything works the same way. The lowest bid is attractive, but it's typically going to be a pain. It's it's not going to come out the way you want it. You're going to have to redo some things, but you might get lucky and it might nail what you need and you got away with it. I personally like to stick within the mid-end range. That's where you have clients you want to impress. You're making a custom home design. You're doing a renovation where the materials matter, where the lighting of the room matters. You don't want to show a room being super bright and then once it's built with these dark materials, it's actually very gloomy and doomy. So you really want a designer and a 3D renderer that knows their way around the physical based rendering, knows their way around lights, colors, because the cheaper services are, you're going to get the guys who just learned the software and you can make things look good really easily. It's not going to match reality. So where I love to hover is the mid-end range. The high end is going to be for, these are your commercial projects, your multi-unit projects. If you have floor plans that you want to build over and over and over again, go as high end as you can because it's only going to make you money in the long run. Keep in mind, just like when you take photos of a property, the better the photo, the more perceived value you have. And I really want to hit home on that word, is the perceived value is directly tied to the money you receive on a home, how fast you sell it, how much buzz you get. So if you're an interior designer and you're showing off these amazing high-end renderings of what your stuff's going to be, that's going to attract other people and go, oh, I want that for me. If you're showing off low-end renderings, it's still better than nothing, but it's not going to attract as many new customers. It's also going to revolve around the type of services you want. So if you're going low end, I would never recommend doing an animation or a cinematic in a low end. And we all know how popular video is becoming. That's something that I am personally going all in on with my renderings, is the animations and the cinematics. And a low end version of that, it's very hard to get right. So you want someone who's skilled in that area. If you're just trying to do like a virtual staging where you have an empty room and you want to take a picture of it and stage it with some furniture, then you can get that stuff for like $16 an image. Floor plan renderings, just about any company can do a good floor plan rendering. And then simple exterior renderings to just kind of get the gist of your idea across. If you want to do something like a sitemap rendering, an interactive 3D tour. We've all seen Matterport tours, but I don't know if any of us has seen an actual virtual Matterport tour where the whole thing is just 3D rendering. Like I said, animations, cinematics, colored and 3D floor plans. The more advanced the material, the more skilled person you want working on it. Some pros and cons of working with a low-end developer is really the only pro I can think is the low cost. I've outsourced to low-end developers in the beginning of my 3D modeling career. Whenever I had too much work to take on myself, I would try and squeeze a little away, but I always ended up just doing it myself. The quality was never there. It just didn't meet my expectations. Now, granted, I might have high expectations, but I think a lot of us do as designers and builders. We want things to be our way and perfect. So do it right the first time and work with a professional, someone who's going to get your idea across the way you want it. The pros of the mid end is it's still affordable. When we're talking prices between, you know, $400 and $3,000 on, say, a custom home, for example, these renderings are going to increase the value of that home 3, 6, 10%, and you're only paying a fraction of a percent just to have these renderings made. When you're working with an experienced designer, you're going to get that one-on-one. They're going to walk you through it. Like myself, I have 8 years of construction experience behind me. So when I see these plans, I'm not just doing the renderings, I'm also doing a whole critique of the layout, of the materials being used, and kind of giving my opinions here and there to help drive the design forward. You're not going to get that from a low end. You'll definitely get that from a high end, but that's if you want top of the line quality. You really need to sell early. You really need to get the property moving, or if it's just a big property where the cost of doing it is negligible. The cons of, you know, working obviously low cost, you're going to have a lot of revisions, low quality, inconsistent quality. That's a big thing. Is, you know, you might look at these low end renderings and they're going to show all this amazing stuff up front, and then you're going to get something that looks like, you know, it was molded in clay, and you're going to wonder where it went wrong. And it's because, you know, these low end renderings, they have artists coming in and out, in and out, in and out. And so every once in a while, they're going to get someone who does an amazing job, and they're going to post that on their page, but he's been gone for 2 years and they don't have anyone who can make that quality anymore. So you really got to be careful with stuff like that. You want the consistency. You want someone that you can call up, text. When you're going through these designs, it's fast paced. There's iteration on iteration. You don't want to have to email and then wait 5 days to get a response just so you can change the cabinets different color. So you want someone who's going to be there for you and work with you, talk with you, coach you through the process. The high end, you know, obviously the more complex the project, the higher the cost, the longer the turnaround. And the mid end, like I said, that's just that sweet spot. You're going to get the professional. He's capable of doing the high end work, but he knows that the price point needs to be somewhat reasonable and can adjust his services based on that.
That makes sense. And I'll let you talk more about that, Michael, on how you could differentiate low quality, high quality renderings.
Yeah, definitely. So to the untrained eye, any rendering is going to look really, really cool. I send videos to people a lot of times, and I constantly get asked, they will ask me, is this is this real or is this fake? And to me, I'm like, how do they not see that it's fake? You know, to me, it's so obvious, but that's because I have such a trained eye and I've been doing this for so long that I can spot a rendering from a real image right away. Most people aren't able to do that. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing, because you know, that means that maybe you can get away with a lower end rendering and it's still going to have that wow factor because people don't really have that much experience seeing renderings. The bad thing is, you know, if they do think it's a real photo, you're misleading them. A low end renderer, they're typically going to use generic materials. Whatever they have available to them, they're going to use. They're not going to go and create the material that you use. Like for my builders, they'll send me a picture of the tile, and I'll go into Photoshop or, you know, a 3D material creation software, and I will expertly create that, you know, the bump on the tile, the glossiness of the tile, everything is exactly to the real world specifications, and it really comes through when you compare. If you're looking at the workbook, these two renderings, one thing for certain you'll see is that, you know, the appliances, the fixtures, I'm sure that this company on the bottom has used the same appliance at least 1,000 times. It's copied and pasted into every rendering they do, whereas on the top, those appliances come directly from, you know, the client's request, all right down to the buttons on the fridge. to the gauge on the stove. So everything is modeled exactly as it is in the real world. And we really take pride in, being able to deliver as close as possible to what you're going to get when the building is actually built or when the design is actually complete. So one thing that you always want to look for is these overexposed areas. In the bottom render, you see there, it looks like there are shelves there, but you can't see them because it's so whitewashed. And that's a really key detail. And I'm sure that that builder was not very happy when he saw that, these hanging shelves are completely obliterated by the unskilled renderer not managing the exposure levels. The one on the top, everything is in plain sight. We don't need this nuclear bloom and brighten everything up. A lot of people will try and cover up a bad rendering with just really bright lights. If you have a good rendering, you don't need to do that. So that's, you always just go through their website. I guarantee you will find every company is only as good as their worst rendering, because I guarantee you that's the quality you're going to get if you go low end. If you work with an experienced guy, like I will not stop until I am personally happy with it. I treat everything like, it's an ad that I'm going to send out. So you can guarantee that that is going to be the highest quality possible. And even if it's not, we're going to revise it for you until it's perfect. So that's, the generic appliances, the generic materials, the poor lighting, the inaccurate lighting. It's just, it may seem like it's a good rendering on the surface, but as you dig down into it, it's really just kind of doing you a disservice more than anything.
Did you want to talk about the house on the next page? Yeah, the residence.
Yeah, so, and this is another thing about this is a low quality rendering, like the one up top. I'm sure it was very quick to make. It didn't cost that much, but for one, this home doesn't have palm trees around it. It's uncharacteristic vegetation. Exactly. That's when you know that they're not, like when I do one of these, I'm going to Google where is the location, what is the vegetation in that location. Exactly. It's going to be perfect. Look at how dark gray that house looks, and it's really a much more pewter, light, and an airy look. The overall composition, the angle that the rendering is being taken, that straight on view that they have from down, it's kind of like when you look at yourself and you're laying down on the couch and your chin is all scrunched up and you're looking down at your phone versus, you're got the right complexion and the right angle. That goes a long way. And that, like I said, that perceived value is everything. You want to make your home look as good as possible, because then people are going to think it's worth more. And it, most of the time it is worth more. If you're taking the extra step to show your design the way you envisioned it, that shows that you are a builder who cares about your work. You are a builder an interior designer that takes pride in what you do, and you want to share it with the world, and you're an artist and not just, trying to make a quick buck. Absolutely. I mean, if you're not showing this, if you're not making this go public, if it's just for you, in your head what your house is going to look like. You just need that rendering to kind of give you maybe the spatial layout. I have clients all the time. I like to detail out my projects, and a lot of times clients will be like, hey, I don't need all the furniture, I don't need all the decoration. I just want to see how the space fits together, and am I going to be pinched walking between the island and the refrigerator? So if that's what you're looking for, then absolutely go lower end. But again, you're dancing with fire. You pay a little bit, and you think that you're reassured and that you're you verify what you're thinking, and come to find out that the angle that their camera was taken from was in a place that's impossible to get. And that's why it looked like the space was so big. It's so easy to deceive someone. Even in physical photographs, you know how easy it is to deceive someone. That's why I love video. Video is very true. Even in the concept phase, even when someone wants something very simple, I like to do a video tour of the home, because that when the movement is there, that's when you can see the things coming through. And something like that doesn't cost much, even with a mid-end. You don't necessarily need to go low. A mid-end developer doing a very simple task is going to cost similar to a low-end developer.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. All right. So now let's move to the design process.
So my preferred method, I'm very collaborative. There's no other way to do this other than being collaborative. I think it's very cold to just say, hey, email us your plans. We email you a price, and then we'll talk to you in 3 weeks when we have something to show. I don't like doing things that way. I like to have a discussion on what are your goals for the project. What are you trying to get out of it? Are you trying to see something for yourself? Are you trying to show something to potential buyers? Is this project built yet? Is it not built yet? Do you just want to stage it without buying furniture? Do you need to see the materials? Depending on your goals and what you're trying to get out of it, that's gonna lend me to then recommend different services to you. So going back to the original question of, if we're just looking for a prototype, do we need to go high end or mid end? If you're just looking for a prototype, I'm not going to sell you a Cadillac or a Mercedes. If you're just looking for a Lincoln Town Car, I'm going to sell you the Lincoln Town Car. It's going to be very affordable, and we're going to work together through it. And then if that project evolves, you've already built up that relationship with the designer who knows your project. And when you want to take it to the next step, we're right there with you. Following that initial discussion, this is a very detailed, personal, one-on-one, similar to how you would do with a counselor or a personal coach. And following that, we're going to send you over a detailed quote. It's going to have a couple different options. So you're not just going to get, hey, this is what you're going to pay, or we're not doing business. It's going to have, hey, here is your lower end service. It's more affordably priced. And if you want to splurge a little bit and get some of the more cooler, modern, futuristic things, then this is a service that you can go with. Once we agree on pricing, we've talked about the project, we're going to gather content from you. So now I guess I will share my screen so we can, but yeah, so we're going to gather all the content. We're going to send you a list, so you don't even have to really think about it. You're just going to go down through a checklist, and it's going to say, model number for the fridge, model number for the fixtures, the doorknobs. I mean, we do everything. There is, and I think here we go. All right. So if everyone can see the screen okay.
It's up.
So this is a live feed right now. It's completely real time. This is the environment that I work in for all of my designs. And as you can see, we do not skimp on the details. This is the exact model number taken from the manufacturer's website. So we're going to get the fridge. We're going to get the faucet, the light fixtures. We're going to get the exact fireplace that you guys specify. And in this case, we even did the furniture, the rug, the coffee table, the dining table was exactly modeled per what they gave us. The backsplash here, this is one of those examples where the developer gave a picture, and you can just see, this is reflecting exactly as this tile is going to reflect in the real world. And it all comes together to, if this is a home that you're selling, good luck not finding a buyer. It's going to, it's going to sell really fast. It's one of these is so powerful for your business in just your own work. And, for example, this developer we went through 4 different wood styles for this countertop or for the island, and he eventually landed on this natural cedar look. But another variation of this kitchen is, the white with the white cabinets and the subway backsplash, which you can just see firsthand how quickly we're able to transition the design, and it's simple as that. So this is really something that I cannot recommend enough. If you are passionate about, if you're building your own home, absolutely do it this way. If you're building a home for someone else, it's only going to increase the value of the home, and 10 times out of 10, it's going to increase the value more than the cost of doing the rendering is going to be. So sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked there, as I knew I would when I multitask. But this is, the content gathering, the exact subway tile, the exact woods, the appliances, the handles on the drawers, that's, the shaker style, your wood beams running across the ceiling, the shiplap on the fireplace. We're going to get all that information from you. We're going to incorporate that into the rendering. Following that, it's really very simple. You are going to, and I lost here we go. I probably should have done this from the beginning in case people didn't have the workbook. Following that,
no, it's okay, because we'll have this on the recording, so we'll actually be showing slides on there. So yeah, so just for the people. So and then the people here, I've messaged all of them, and they all have the workbook, so we're good.
Gotcha. Okay. So the next step is really where we take over the creative process. We got your finishes, and we are going to create a design that complements those finishes. So if you look at this kitchen here, we have the gold faucet, we have the gold knobs. So, we really wanted to go with the gold, black, white, and plant themed design scheme. All the furnishings on the table. And I can actually show you what this will look like without all the furniture in, and you can see just how different it is now that you don't have the stuff. One thing that we like to do when we're given the final deliverables is create a before and after. So that's really where it can, when you go from seeing the kitchen like this, and then you see the shelves filled up, and you see the stools and the couches and the rug, and now you're getting a sense of what this space is going to feel like when you move in or when your client moves in. So just really powerful stuff, really visually stimulating stuff that's going to wow any client you have, and really kickstart your business to a whole new level. Once all the final deliverables are in your hands, we'll go through the revisions. All revisions are completely covered underneath the roof. Most of the time we nail it the first time around. If there are revisions, it's because they want to see a different style or something like that. And I personally, that's my favorite thing to do. I love going through different options with my clients and finding a design that's perfect for them. So that's the process in a nutshell. It's so simple. We walk you through every step of the way. Like I said, we have a builder's background. So when you send us the floor plans, we know what's going on. I built homes from plans before, so I don't need to be spoon-fed information and handheld the whole way. You're not going to get 20 questions. It's really going to be, hey, tell me what you want it to look like, and we're going to deliver.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So did you have any animations or anything that you wanted to show, or?
I actually, now you mention it, I do have an example of I don't know how well this is going to come through, but this is a cool way to show off if you have a
Oh, it
custom
showed
home
really well.
where you're
Yep.
offering different design styles. And then this is a perfect way to show, hey, you want that upgraded, you want that upgraded fireplace when you see that.
Hmm.
And it's a psychology thing. When you see the before and after, if the before is unstaged and then you show that upgrade with the stagings, it makes it twice as desirable for the person to want to get that. So for all you builders out there who offer customizable options, there's no better way to do that. The best thing I like to describe it as, especially for this beginning, is it's kind of like you're fishing with a net as opposed to a single fishing line. If you're showing 3, 4, 5 different styles of kitchen, you're going to retain those customers who might have been turned off if I had only just shown them the all white kitchen. And when you're showing an added fireplace on your floor plan and it's just a little symbol, a 2D black and white symbol of a fireplace that's been seen a million times by everyone, they're going to go, okay, yeah, maybe, but they can't visualize it. When they see this, it's a no-brainer.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And that showed really well. We have a couple questions already. One is, how long does this process usually take?
So it obviously depends on the complexity of the job, but we're right within a 7 to 10 day turnaround time, depending on how busy we are. But we work in a real time, like you just saw. I'm flying around through there. That looks as realistic as you can get. And trust me, I have I have spent hundreds of hours making sure it looks that way. Not that specific project, but just in general. So we've gotten this down to a science where you send us your plans and we can, in as little as 3 days. And typically we like to give 10 days so we can have some back and forth and go through and clean up the design and make it just the way you want.
Okay. And then what software were you using?
That is Unreal Engine. So some of you may have heard of it. Basically it's super complex. It's not a user-friendly software that I would recommend anyone to dive in if they don't know anything about it. If you do want to get into it yourself, I would recommend doing like a House Pro or Chief Architect, or probably SketchUp is a little more beginner friendly. But Unreal Engine is a game engine, so it's actually what they use to make real-time 3D video games, but it's becoming more and more used by the real estate industry, construction industry, interior designers to really create stunning animations without those super long. And that's one of the reasons why our turnaround times are so fast, because if you make a change, we don't have to wait 24 hours for that change to be rendered out. We can do it in 13 seconds. So I typically, if, like I said, we're texting back and forth and you're like, okay, make it blue. Okay, make it red. Okay, make it yellow. And you're getting those images, rapid fire. It really speeds things up and makes the whole process more enjoyable.
That makes sense. And then one question was on the textures and the materials and the fixtures. How close can you come to the actual appliances that are being used or that are actually being specified?
Yeah, so we literally will, we'll go to the manufacturer's website, and I'll share my screen again just so you can see how detailed we get with this stuff, and almost to the point where it's unnecessary, if I'm being completely honest, because you're never going to be as close as when you really zoom in here, you can see we do not spare any detail on any of the appliances. We even got the Fisher and we go all out. You're never going to see that down there, but we put it there just in case. The faucets, this is exactly from the manufacturer's website, the sink, everything. So you can expect a one-to-one match. The materials, they're handmade, so we don't use a generic material library. like, I can come over to this tile right here, for example, and I can make it as dull, or this is a bad example because it's not a real-time one. Let's see if this is, so I can make, I can increase the weight in between the lines and the depth in between the lines. I can increase the tiling, not that you would ever have a tile that looks like that, but we can make it as reflective or as unreflective. So it's called physically based rendering for a reason. It's taking real world values, reflection values, the way light bounces off objects. The light is actually hitting an object, detecting what color that object is, and it's bouncing that color off just like it would in the real world. That's why I love using this engine specifically, because it offers that. I can set the sun intensity to the exact intensity of the sun in the real world. And same, with every light bulb in the room, everything is real world values. So you're getting a one-to-one match.
Mm-hmm.
I can show you a very good example of a video tour right now, so you can get an idea of why I prefer these over. So this is one. This actually includes that rendering that we just saw. This is why I like to do videos, and there's music on it, and maybe I can play it. I don't want to play the music, but you can see how impactful this is going to be, and you don't have to do anything. You just get to sit back, put your hands over your head, and you get to watch and enjoy, and let the artist take you through the house the way that they want you to see it. Or the developer take you through. When you go into these virtual Matterport tours, it can kind of feel like, it can get boring, it can get dull. But when you see something like this, especially when you hear the music behind it, it's a very powerful experience, and it's going to get people knocking on your door.
Yeah, and that looks really good, really lifelike as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So one question we had from one interior designer here, they wanted to know, based on your experience working with designers and remodelers, how often do they make changes to the design once they've seen the rendering that you have provided them?
Every time. No, it's like I was telling you earlier. I mean, you give someone who's never had cake before chocolate cake, it's the best thing in the world. Then you give them velvet cake, now that's the best thing in the world. And you give them carrot cake, and then they just want more cake, because every client at one point or another in the project is going to change something about the project, whether it's the cabinets. We had a client that he went from all gray exterior to natural cedar shake siding with black windows and white trim, and as you just saw right there, that's showing off the ability to put a mood behind things. We want to be able to show exactly what that room is used for, and you can see yourself. I had a builder that we were blocking. I had the island staged a certain way, and as the builder, he's very attached to how his island looked, and he was a little bit upset with how he wasn't able to see the island in the rendering, and his partner came in and said, people aren't going to care what the island looks like if they can imagine themselves eating at it. Mm-hmm. And that is so true in so many ways. If you can just take that person's imagination away from them, and you show, like, hey, this flex room, I could have put a pool table in there. I could have put, anything in that room. I could have made it a children's room. I could have made it anything you want. But to me, that room was meant to have a theater, and that's going to appeal to the most amount of buyers. So being able to show someone what these rooms can be used for is so powerful, and it's gonna help you sell your designs a lot quicker.
That makes sense. Now, this is an interesting question. Have you ever had rendering outshine that final product?
It's a tightrope that you got to walk, because the natural feeling when, when the room looks too dark is to brighten it up. I have to put myself in check sometimes, because my initial thought is, oh, I made a bad rendering. Sometimes the house just doesn't look good. So if I would be doing my builder a disservice by misleading them and thinking, hey, this room is lit perfectly, when in reality it's not. So I go above and beyond. I do light studies. I track where is the sun in the sky at certain times of day. I know where it's going to be when it's setting, where it's going to be where it's rising, and I will actually mimic, that morning sun when I know they're going to be getting ready for work. That's no matter what, they're going to be in that room when they're getting ready for work. So I want to know what that sun at that time is going to look like for them. I do not mislead and try and make, like I said, like that picture of if we go back to this design here, this picture of this kitchen, I could have brightened it up. You see how dark it is. That's because I use real world values, and there are dark spots in that kitchen. Mainly because we don't have any skylights. He doesn't know where the positions of the lights are going to be yet. But I could have easily just increased the exposure value, and it would have looked like the most well lit, perfect kitchen. But I intentionally kept it dark just to show him, hey, this is what it would look like if you only had those two pendant lights on with a little bit of sunlight coming in from the side. Whereas this rendering down here, I guarantee this kitchen will be dark as night. You're not going to get that like heavenly like lighting coming in here. It's going to be very dark in there, and those dark cabinets, the dark floors, you're never going to know that looking at this, because this looks like it's perfectly lit. So to answer that question, no, I would never intentionally mislead. Sometimes I might mistakenly think that I made something too dark and adjust my values, but I always end up catching it in the end.
Okay. And then just a follow-up to that, has rendering ever helped set a new direction for the project in a positive manner?
Yes. I have had builders abort on their project altogether.
Okay.
Because the design was not worth it for them when they saw it. And it had nothing to do with me giving a bad render. They saw it and they were like, this is not what we thought this home would look like. And they scrapped the design. They went back to the drawing board entirely. To me, that is the most positive outcome that this could have created. That would have been a $350,000 investment for them. And only for them to hate it in the outcome. And I think they spent like maybe $1,500 on getting the whole thing mocked up and looked at, and they saved $350,000, went back to the drawing board, and ultimately came up with a design that they loved much more.
And that makes a lot of sense. And that ties back into what you were saying earlier about rendering should be a part of the process. It shouldn't be viewed as an add-on, but it should be an integral part of the process.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you put in, the cost is not going to fluctuate if you use the rendering as, a design valuation as well as a marketing tool. You can create the design with an architect, and you can just know that it's going to be amazing. And a lot of times, we probably have some experienced builders and realtors on here who know when when the project's going to sell itself, and they don't need to kind of do a design evaluation. But if it's going to cost you the same to do that rendering right from the jump, and then stack it when it comes time to sell, now you have that marketing material. Why not do that? I mean, it's a no-brainer to me to just verify. Even if you're sure, just verify that the design looks the way you want. It could be as simple as getting a counter with a slight increase in the amount of veins that it has in it. an experienced designer can really use one of these renderings to their advantage, and they can micro tweak things that will take something from ordinary to extraordinary. If it's going to cost the same amount as, waiting until you're ready to sell the thing, why not just do it from the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
A good designer will get you the final result the first time. To me, there's no, just because the home's not built doesn't mean that I can't build it in my head and build it in 3D. Like the software, I don't have to know how light bounces through the room. The software is doing that for me. It's calculating the way the sun bounces. So if you don't know what your furniture is, yeah, absolutely. Let's start it. If you don't know what your materials are, for example, when we send you our design sheet, we'll say, fill in what you can, and we'll do the rest. We'll fill in the blanks with stuff that, similar to how we do the interior design. If you just give us, hey, we want white counters and a black backsplash, tongue twister, then we'll work with you to find the perfect cabinet color, the perfect appliances. It's a super collaborative process where no matter what stage, absolutely. But I don't, and it could evolve with the project, which I think is what he's asking. So to answer your question, yes, it's one of those things that can evolve with the project, and no matter where you are in the design phase, it always makes sense to do it. Because it's not like we're going to say, I hate nickel and diming. I know Jason hates nickel and diming.
Yes.
We become friends. It's when I send you this, I want nothing more than a response of elation and just, I can't wait to get started on the next project. That's what we're here for. That's what we deliver. And so, I hope that answers that question.
If you can briefly just head back over they may have jumped on late on that one, but they were just asking what are the typical costs, and then you can see that on the screen there.
Yeah. So, if you're what I like to do, and it's gonna obviously depend on who you are. Are we able to have a dialogue with them where I can ask like what type of service do you do? Or what is the profession? Are you a builder? Are you an interior designer? Because for namesake, a custom home builder, I do a complete package, which is a exterior rendering, and then the interior renderings and an 1 minute long interior animation of the 5 main rooms of the home. It's typically the kitchen, the owner's bedroom, the owner's bath, dining room, and then a outdoor patio space if something is there like that. That is going to run right around 500 a room, which, like I said, if this is a custom home that you're selling, that home is going to increase 3, 6, 10% in value. And that 500 per room usually comes out to about $2,500 to $3,000. That's, depending on the cost of your house, that's 0.5% to 1%. You're making money on these every time. You're never going to lose money doing a rendering. You're always going to sell the home faster. You're always going to sell the home for more money. And I would be willing to put my money that it's going to happen every time. So for the pricing, like I said, it's not an expense, it's an investment. Yes, maybe you don't have the money up front. You're already maxed out on the loan. Don't do a rendering. Wait until you have a little bit of extra cash. Just like I wouldn't recommend that you go do a flip if you're, $80,000 in debt already. But if you have that cash lying around, it's only going to make you money in the long run. And it's only going to make you seem like a higher quality builder. It's only going to attract more business. It's just an investment in your business and in yourself, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a realtor, whether you're an interior designer. If you're a realtor and you're showing to your clients that, hey, if you work with me, you're going to get this service in return. Oh my God, you're going gonna have to put your phone on silent and go on a vacation like Jason, because that's something that people are looking for now. It's especially with COVID, they want that. They want someone who can create that for them, create that experience around their home that even they can't even, imagine, and they're the builders. So interior designers, if you can say, hey, I'm not just giving you a mood board, I'm giving you a complete interior walkthrough and animation of what your design is going to look like, they're going to recommend you to everyone they know.
Okay. Okay. And then the last question we have here, one designer asked, have you ever worked with a designer that hasn't never used renderings or animation before, and then the client loved them, and then that was what they would use from here on out?
I've had a lot of clients that I've worked with, and they loved it so much that they learned it themselves. And I actually helped them, I guided them to the software, and that's, I love when people just love using this. Lost business to me is not a big deal, but getting people excited about this is the main goal, because this is going to be the future. But yes and no. I have definitely had builders who, as soon as they did one project with me, I turn around and there's 3 more floor plans in my inbox. And there are some that already have been doing it, and they're just looking for higher quality. And as soon as they get a taste of that higher quality and how simple it was to work with an experienced designer who's, communicating effectively and delivering on promises, then they can't get enough, and it's worth every penny to them.
She just had a follow-up that she says she's been in the design industry for about 15 years, and she's never really used renderings or animations, but this has helped her see how she may want to add this in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to hear that.
Awesome. Michael, did you want to add anything in before we leave?
No, I think I've talked enough. Like I said, I just want to keep reiterating the fact that this is an investment, not an expense, and it's so inexpensive these days with the real-time software. An animation like the ones we're creating used to cost $15,000 because it would take them 72 hours to render it out just to realize there's an error and have to redo it. Now with the technology available and the fact that we started our company with that technology, that cost that you see is fractions of what people were paying for this type of stuff. And we're now seeing it feasible for the residential market. It used to be very limited. It was either commercial projects or the big developers like, Leonard Homes, and they were doing this kind of stuff, but it was always a little bit out of reach for the smaller designers and the smaller builders. But now it's a no-brainer. The costs are so low, you don't need to build the same house twice to get your money back. You're going to get it back on that first home you do, on that first, interior design. If you just want to show your client a single room, that could cost you as low as $200 to $400, and you just gave them a mind-blowing image that is going to make them work with you for the rest of your, of the career. And you can subtract the cost that you would normally have doing the mood board, right? This replaces the mood board in its entirety, and whatever hours you spend doing that, whatever hourly rate you bill yourself at, take that out of it, and now that $400 might only be $50. And you do less work. So it's opening you up to expand your business. We become a partner to help you grow and focus on other facets of your business. And we take care of the marketing for you. We take, once you make something like this, you don't have to worry about marketing ever again. You just keep posting those images, and you keep posting those videos, and the business will come.
Love it. Love it. That's a good way to end. Everyone, you have a good end of your day and a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.